Hello, I'm Giles Darling and I write novels, plays and non-fiction books. In this video I continue to show an example of how to create dozens of story ideas from a what-if moment. This follows the process outlined in my How to Create Story Ideas videos, which I include a link to below. So let's ask some more open-ended questions about voting reform. Question 2. Who are the main characters? The main characters for a story idea about voting reform can be based on various overlapping aspects. For example, what are the main characters' jobs? Are they politically active, or does politics not interest them at all? Are they in favour of voting reform, or are they against it? Or do they even care? Are they open and honest, or do they have a secret agenda? What are their motives? For this topic, the main characters can have a wide range of jobs which can be organised along a sliding scale, from very political to not political at all. At the very political end of the scale, one or more of the main characters could be a politician. This can be subdivided further by considering their experience, knowledge and seniority. For example, they could be newly elected and still finding their way around. This potentially leaves them open to manipulation by others. Alternatively, they could be senior members of government with lots of influence. Does this power go to their heads? Do they bend the rules? Are they found out? Are they actually the villains of the story? As another option, they could be retired politicians who are finding it hard to adjust to life out of the limelight. Does voting reform give them new opportunities to get their faces back on television and their names back in the newspapers? Will they maintain their dignity or sacrifice it? Further along the sliding scale, the main characters could have jobs linked to day-to-day politics. For example, they could be civil servants or political advisors, warning politicians against potential political instability caused by voting or electoral reform. Do these civil servants and advisors remain politically impartial, or are they influenced by their own personal political beliefs? How do they react when politicians ignore their advice? Another example is the support staff who keep the political establishment running. The main characters could be personal assistants, secretaries, chauffeurs, police officers, cooks, cleaners, along with many other support jobs. Are these characters loyal to their employers, or do they give in to temptation when, for example, a foreign agent bribes them for secret information? Further still along the sliding scale are jobs linked to politics but not part of the parliamentary estate. Examples include lobbyists, television reporters, newspaper journalists, pollsters and think tank researchers. These specialised professions offer many opportunities for the main characters to face a wide range of internal and external conflicts. However, unless you or someone close to you have personal experience of these types of work, the risk increases of your story idea appearing inauthentic and inaccurate. If your story idea focuses on how votes are registered rather than how they are allocated, the main character could be a software programmer creating an electronic voting system, a data encryption analyst making election data secure, or someone designing automated voting booths. Are they tempted to tamper with the software, the data, or the voting booth design so that the election result matches their own political beliefs? The main characters could also be spies or secret agents trying to influence a nation's attempts at voting reform. This could be positive, for example, overturning an undemocratic dictatorship, or negative, for example, a foreign power trying to destroy democratic reforms here. This offers opportunities for story ideas full of intrigue and skullduggery. Even further along the sliding scale are jobs that relate to politics at a local level. Here, the main characters could be teachers and professors teaching or lecturing about politics in schools and universities. What do they think about voting reform? Are they in favour because it chimes with their own political views, or are they against it because they fear it could increase their workload? Another example could include local constituency workers and party volunteers. How will they react to voting reform? Will they refuse to distribute leaflets through local residents' letterboxes? At the non-political end of the scale, the main characters could be ordinary members of the public who have no interest in politics, at least when the story idea starts. How do they react to voting reform? Do they only pay attention when it unexpectedly impacts directly on their own personal daily lives? How does it affect them? Alternatively, they could be related to a politician, for example, close members of a politician's family, such as a husband or a wife, a child or a parent. Do their opinions on voting reform align, or is there intense debate within the family? Does the family stick together, or does it break apart? Similarly, the main characters could be friends or neighbours of a politician. Is the friendship threatened by differences of opinion over voting reform? If the neighbour and politician are not close acquaintances, maybe the neighbour could provide a detached perspective towards voting reform. Can you think of other jobs, professions or roles that the main character could have? Please add your suggestions to this video's comments. If the main characters are politicians, it can seem a foregone conclusion whether they are in favour of or against voting reform. For example, members of established political parties will probably be against voting reform because the current system favours them. Meanwhile, members of smaller or newer political parties will often be in favour of voting reform because it could make it easier for them to get elected. However, if you switch the main character's opinions away from this assumption, this can create a more interesting story idea. For example, members of the House of Lords should be against first and second past the post or FAS-PTP voting reform as discussed in my previous video. This is because FAS-PTP replaces the House of Lords with an elected second chamber. Therefore, members of the House of Lords would lose their jobs, roles and privileges. However, maybe some of them are secretly fed up with the House of Lords and want to leave, but they don't know how to do this without upsetting or betraying their friends and colleagues. Voting reform could offer them a way out. Similarly, the main character's opinions could change as the story idea progresses. What drives this change? Does it alienate the main characters from their friends and family? Does the change make them happier or drive them to despair? This can create a more interesting story idea. The mindset or motive of the main characters can also drive a particular story idea. For example, are the main characters open and honest, or do they have a secret agenda? Are they innocent bystanders caught up in the story as it unfolds, or does their scheming propel the story forward? Maybe the main characters pretend to support a particular political party for personal gain, such as money or power. Do they wheedle their way into a powerful family, perhaps part of a political dynasty, by seducing an impressionable daughter or son, only to show their true colours once they have secured their position? Do they get away with it, or does karma pay them back somehow? Not all main characters have to be honest and good. Sometimes they can actually be the villains of the story. No doubt you can think of other examples of nefarious behaviour by one or more main characters in pursuit of money or power. If so, add your ideas to this video's comments. Thank you for watching this video. Please feel free to use any of these story ideas for your own novels, plays, screenplays and TV scripts. To see me ask even more open-ended questions for story ideas about voting reform, please watch my next follow-up video. Please also check out the rest of my YouTube channel, especially where I discuss the various books that I've written. I hope my channel encourages you to buy my books and to read them if you haven't already done so. Finally, please feel free to leave comments below and to like and subscribe this video and my YouTube channel. Back in a mo!